And welcome everyone to another edition of Inside the Investigation. We are with Lieutenant Wooley. He is with Smithfield. He is the investigations lieutenant for Smithfield. Thanks for coming back. We are going to dive into, if you saw our last podcast, he was talking about the unsolved double murder in Smithfield. Now we're talking about two robberies, one in Smithfield and another one in an adjoining community that was kind of connected because of the investigation. So we're going to pull back the covers and tell you about how that all unfolded. Lieutenant, thank you very much for being here. It should also be noted that we will be referring to a PowerPoint that was produced to, well, I'm going to let the lieutenant explain it. And then in our next segment, we're going to take you through a couple of the pages, the important pages about suspects and how this case all unraveled. But Lieutenant, thank you for being here, Lieutenant Wooley. Tell me about these. It began with robbery at a 7-Eleven in Smithfield. Pick up the story from there.
Yeah, so on December 2nd, 2023 at 3 a.m., when we're all awake and walking around, I get a call of a robbery that happens at 7-Eleven in the town of Smithfield. So
and this is the Smithfield, this is the 7-Eleven right here.
Yep. So our officers respond, they secure the scene, and they notify investigations, and we come out to process the scene. We get on scene, and we conduct interviews. We're able to... One of the interesting things about scenes is that before you see the video of where a suspect's at, you don't know what's touched, what's evidentiary, what's not evidentiary. So during the scene, we end up taking photographs of footwear impressions that are in the mud. We do a lot of
Could
work.
mean something, may not mean something.
Yeah, you just don't know. And sometimes it takes...
in most cases, does it not mean anything? In most cases?
Most cases it doesn't. Because for the footwear impression, not only do you have to take the photos, but you have to find that footwear somewhere. So that means that there's a search warrant down the road that, you have to find those shoes. So sometimes they mean, but again, I've had cases where, they do mean something. I had a burglary where footwear impressions doing the work, it does mean something, and it is able to tie somebody to a scene. So you never just leave it alone. You still have to do it. So we do the initial response, we do the initial investigation, and we're able to find, we get the video and we find the suspect. He's a black male. He enters the store covering his face, no weapon displayed, and steals some lottery tickets and some cash out of the drawer. And again, it still blows my mind that people are still robbing convenience stores for $300. Just because of the
and lottery tickets are traced. I mean, they're able to trace them. So you rip it off here and you do it here, then they can follow.
And the Virginia lottery is extremely helpful when it comes to stolen lottery tickets. We've used them multiple times. Investigator Best, thank you. They are great at getting information and getting it to you quickly, because they understand that stuff, it matters. Time is of the essence. Once that happens, it is very important that those things are listed.
Yeah, let's take a minute. And you just gave a shout out to Investigator
Best.
BEST.
Yes.
What does Investigator Best do for you? What takes place?
Yeah.
Hey, we just had this. We know that 50 lottery tickets were sold. Then fill us in what happens.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we do. We say, hey, we just had lottery tickets stolen. They're approximately these serial numbers. Do they show up in your system? Where are they? And she checks the system. They check the system, and they say, yes, they were cached in Norfolk at this exact location at this exact time and date. So now you go over to Norfolk, you pull that video camera footage, check flock in the area, check other things, and now you're starting to connect those pieces. Now you're really trying to, you're putting the pieces together for the investigation.
Right. Can you imagine if it was a big lottery ticket winner? How do you claim it? I mean, how do you really claim it?
Yeah.
Don't these people get it? Because if it's not worth anything, what's the point of that? Anyway, okay. So what was the patrol response?
So patrol gets on scene. They kind of keep some witnesses separate, and they...
By the way, I love the PowerPoint. This
Yeah.
is really good. This is our first PowerPoint on Inside the Investigation.
Yeah. So we create PowerPoints within the department to show officers where the investigation leads, because once the patrol officers respond and they clear the scene, they don't see the case really anymore, unless, it's bits and pieces. We might ask for some assistance, but generally they don't see what happens.
Yeah, and it says here the black male entered the store covering his face, came behind the counter and stated, "If everything goes smoothly, nobody will be hurt." The male then filled a bag with lottery tickets, tobacco products, etc. And there he is right there. Right?
Yep.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So we process the scene.
That leads to the investigations response. Talking about that.
Yep. So we respond, we process a scene. We end up collecting a backwoods box. We send it. We actually process it in house using a super glue chamber, and we're able to find a print on it. We send that print to the lab to be run through APHIS, and we end up getting a hit off of the backwoods box. Funny enough, it is not a suspect print.
Right. This one right here, fingerprints.
Yep. So
right here, take a look at that.
we get
Is this
a
what
hit.
this is what you're talking about?
Yep. So we get a hit off of that backwoods box, a fingerprint, but it comes back to a white female, which means that somebody had touched that box at some point that was in APHIS. And that's just the interesting thing of false hits. Again, you don't know what you're going to get when you process a scene. You don't know what other things could come back.
Now, in this investigation response, investigator D. Best with the Virginia Lottery goes into what happened with the investigator there. Approximately 368 was taken from the register, goes through. So those are all the details of what's going on. And also, it also tells you a lot about took photographs, collected fingerprints is what they did, reviewed the store camera footage. Yep. So it's really fascinating to see how it's all unfolding. Okay. Now, and then also the fingerprints. Anything else happened with the fingerprints?
No, once we received that it was, a false hit, our investigation, as far as on scene, kind of stopped, because now we go into the digital realm of what we can do to try to find who this person is.
Yeah. The fingerprint collected returned to a subject that was proven to be uninvolved in the robbery.
Yeah.
But it is showing you, as the lieutenant is piecing everything together, how the investigation unfolds inside the investigation. Coming up in our next segment, we're going to take you to the suspects. They got the suspects through their investigation. I'll have that part of the story coming up right after this on Inside the Investigation. Okay, back with Inside the Investigation with Lieutenant Wooley. We left the last segment talking about a robbery in Smithfield, a 7-Eleven robbery in Smithfield. But then, according to the PowerPoint, there was another 7-Eleven robbery in Surrey County.
There was.
Lieutenant, back with us. Now it's starting to get interesting. Tell me what happens next.
So 3 days later, Surrey 7-Eleven gets robbed. And the suspect description, the MO, modus operandi, is all the same. So we are connecting the dots now. Now we see that our 7-Eleven is robbed, their 7-Eleven is robbed. So
and
now
that's about 20 miles away.
It's about 20 miles away. And one of the things that were stolen, cell phones. So now...
Were lottery tickets taken?
Don't remember if lottery tickets were taken in that one.
Because they were in the Smithfield.
I don't think that they were taken in that one, but the cell phones were taken, and of course, cash was taken. But the cell phones is what I was interested in, because that's my connection. That's where my leads come from. So we assist Surrey County with writing a few search warrants. One of them is it's called RTT data, TDOA data, and that is how your cell phone connects to towers. It's the best connection. It's the best information that you can get.
We love towers.
Yep. So we do one of those search warrants. Well, then we also do a geofence warrant. because if you're going to do one, you can do two. And so we do a geofence warrant. We do a geofence warrant for
And geofences.
through Google. So it's going to
That's
be more
right. You
GPS
mentioned that
data.
the last time.
Yep. So it's going to be more GPS data. So we do one for the Smithfield 7-Eleven and then the Surrey 7-Eleven.
And through the footage, you determined that the detectives reviewed footage of the Surrey 7-Eleven and determined that the same suspect committed both robberies. Tell me how that unfolded.
Yeah. So, it's one of those things where you look at somebody's how they walk, how they enter the store, what is said. All those things come into consideration when you're trying to determine if this person is the same person. And we were able to determine that it was the same person in our 7-Eleven and their 7-Eleven.
Okay, are we ready for these?
Well, we haven't identified him yet.
Okay, tell me how you get, because I got to get to the next thing.
So
how do you identify him?
We identify him through Google, our geofence. So geofence is a 3-step process. You do the first one, it comes back with an obfuscated ID, and then we end up getting a display name of Brandon Gibson with identifying information from Google.
Right. So you got all that, and then you get
Brandon Gibson.
Brandon Gibson. Now tell me about Mr. Gibson. What do you want to say about him?
So typically when you get a name, it's difficult to figure out who it is, right? John Doe, who is Brandon Gibson? We don't have any other identifying information. It's kind of difficult. Well, just so happens Brandon Gibson is in custody for multiple robberies on the Eastern Shore. So it was a clue that this was it was multiple different. It was all over a night. I think it was 4 or 5. I wasn't in on that investigation. We didn't end up taking it federal. The prosecutor over there wanted to charge him state.
And the booking photo of him right there was instrumental because the photo was compared to the surveillance footage in Norfolk where the stolen lottery tickets were, and boom, same dude, right?
Well, same dude, same guy in the footage, because Orbeta, we haven't talked about him.
And we're getting to him next.
That's where the lottery tickets were.
Okay. So we have this. Now we get Christopher Orbeta. Now, what is the connection with Orbeta to Gibson? How did you make that connection?
Yeah, so when we went, we talked to Investigator Best with the Virginia Lottery, and they were able to give us the location, and we were able to grab footage from Norfolk where the lottery tickets were cached. We see a white male, he has a hood covering him, not great footage, but we're able to see a white male cashing the tickets, matching Orbeta's build and description. Well, when Brandon Gibson is arrested on the Eastern Shore, Orbeta is with him. So now we have a second suspect.
And he was at the first one as well?
So he was at the, we believe, and that he was the driver.
Was compared to the surveillance footage in Norfolk, right?
Yes.
And then confirmed there, and then confirmed on the shore.
Yes.
Working together.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, very good. Keep going.
So we're now able to tie Orbeta and Gibson to the robberies, but we want to do an interview.
Right. So let's go to the suspect interview. Tell us how that goes.
So the interview was conducted
And this is you right here.
No, this is Sergeant Herget. This is my sergeant who works for me in investigations.
Okay, right.
So he does this interview, and he does an excellent job at this interview. And during the interview starts where starts with a little small talk. Hey, how's it going? How's your day? They're trying to build a rapport. And Gibson is actually chatty. He comes out smiling, comes out pretty chatty. And then he does his Miranda warning, and then Gibson shuts down. He doesn't know anything, hasn't seen anything. He's never been to Smithfield, never heard of Smithfield. And then about 5 minutes in, things start to change. The wind changes. Gibson now starts telling us a little bit more. He starts telling us that he was in Smithfield, that he did commit the robberies. And at the end of this,
And gave you details to the robberies that would be only known to detectives. And he also gave details that were not known to detectives, but were able to be confirmed.
yes,
So he was telling you things that you already knew.
he was. And he ended up admitting to doing the robberies. And he even signed the photograph that we showed earlier of the surveillance footage.
He signed that. Yes, look at that. And what was the signature for?
So he signed two different ways. One was his actual signature, and the other was his rap signature.
Okay, I'll tell you what. We have to take a break. We're going to come back with him, with Mr. Gibson there, and we're going to have more on this. It's really fascinating, Lieutenant, how you're taking us through. That's what Inside the Investigation is supposed to be about. Step by step about how they figure it all out. And we'll have more with Mr. Gibson coming up right after this. Welcome back, everyone. So what we have is we have a Smithfield 7-Eleven robbery. Then we have the other one tied together. And we have the lieutenant here. And we left the last segment with the suspect interview. Let's pull this one up, Michael. There we go. Now, let's pick the story up from there, Lieutenant.
Yeah, so as I was saying, the interrogation went from nothing to everything. You know, in a 45-minute interrogation, we go from a suspect who is completely shut off, doesn't know anything, to now joking around, giving his signature, and admitting to his involvement. And I think it was every suspect wants to tell the truth. They want to get it off their chest. They don't want to carry the weight with them. And it's really helping them to get there.
Right. He writes this statement. How did feel when you read this statement? I think it'd be helpful for me to read it real quick. Hello, this is Brandon Gibson, writing in regard to let you know my deepest apologies and to say I'm sorry that we crossed paths in such a manner, and I don't wish anything bad on anyone and hope that everyone is all right and continues to live life to the best of their abilities. I'm sorry on the actions and take full responsibility on my account and willing to do any service to bring clarity to your lives amongst the situation at hand. Thank you for your time and God bless. Brandon Gibson. What did you think when you got this? Had you ever gotten one of these before?
Not to that extent. Not to that extent.
And this was his own words?
Yep, this is his own
He said,
words.
you said just sign this, but he wanted to do more?
He asked if he could write a letter.
Yeah.
And
Is
of
he hoping
course-
that this helps him down the road?
And it might, right? It will and it won't. So at a certain point, when somebody is caught, people want to see them take ownership of it. They want to see ownership of somebody's actions. They want to see that they have that they are sorry for what they did. So, you know, and that kind of gets into the court realm of things. But for me as the investigator, this means that I found my guy. That means that I have a good case. I have built this case from the beginning now. We have lots of different evidence. And that's what I'm more concerned about, because what happens in court, that's between, you know, the prosecutor and the judge.
Okay, we're going to go to the conclusion real quick, and then I want to get a discussion on an unrelated, related issue, but we'll get to that. Give us the conclusion real quick. Michael, let's go ahead and pull that up. You can read along, everyone. This is how this situation, beginning, middle, and end, and here's how it ended. Go ahead.
Yeah, so both suspects were charged with robbery and conspiracy to robbery in Alawite County, so in Smithfield, for ours. And Gibson was found guilty. He was sentenced to 5 years with 2 years suspended, 5 years of probation. He was also found guilty in Surrey, where he had an additional 5 years with 2 years suspended. Orbedo was found guilty in Alawite County with 5 years in jail with 4 years suspended and 5 years of probation.
Inside the investigation, beginning, middle, and end. Now I want to turn to something else that is important to you, the Forensic Science Academy. What is that?
So the Forensic Science Academy is a 10-week long school. I'm a graduate of the 105th session. And Sergeant Herget, who we were talking about in that interview, he's actually in the Forensic Science Academy currently, right now. So it's a 10-week long school that is taught by the Department of Forensic Science. So they go over everything from scene photography to processing to lab capabilities, to dig sites, to, I mean, everything you can think of in the forensic science field, this school touches.
Continuing education, if you will.
Yes.
And advancing education.
I would say advancing. I mean,
where we are today.
10 weeks of just learning about your craft is a lot in law enforcement. You know, typically our schools are anywhere between 1 and 2 week long. The opportunity to go for 10 weeks and just focus on one area is extremely important, especially for a small department like ours, where our exposure isn't like people like Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Newport News, where they're having these scenes and they have, you know, crime scene units of 15, 20 people. It's 3 of us. So being adequately
and Virginia
trained,
State Police when you need them.
and Virginia State Police when we need them, of course, and Newport News, they've assisted us quite a bit. But having the training up front by the Department of Forensic Science and knowing what the lab can do has helped me immensely in my career in what we can and can't do with evidence.
What has been the most surprising thing to you in the development? What did you learn that you really didn't know before you got there?
So when I went,
That surprised you the most? God, this is a whole new thing.
yeah. So when I went from a patrol sergeant straight to the Department of Forensic Science before I had even been in investigations. So when I went, everything was mind blowing to me. To trace evidence. So one of the things that was very interesting to me was a vehicle. There are different layers of paint on vehicles. And if, let's say, we are looking for an accident suspect and there's paint transfer, we can scrape a suspect vehicle and match that paint 1 for 1. It's just very interesting to say, you know, that this paint smear on this car came from this specific car. That was very interesting. But there's so many things that the lab does. Distance determination for shootings. They're able to do a lot of different things at the Virginia Department of Forensic Science that are mind blowing.
Well, Lieutenant Wooley, thank you so much. This is really the first time I've met you, and I appreciate your coming in here. You had worked with Amy Avery on the previous story that we did in the last podcast that we had with you, and we appreciate your coming in and appreciate all you're doing, and we'll keep in touch with you. Please come back with other cases that you might have. Yeah. Once again, Crime Line, 188-LOCK-YOU-UP. On the double unsolved murder that we discussed in the last podcast. If you know anything about that, please call 1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP. And Lieutenant Wooley, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming by. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Inside the Investigation. I'm Andy Fox. See you in our next episode. Have